If I didn't know any better, I'd say you guys were more than a little excited for Mario Maker. So this time, we're giving the old analysis machine a break and looking at what you guys found within Mario Maker's Game Awards trailer, although we'll be adding a few more ideas of our own, of course. Come on, you know us, we can't resist. Of course, be sure to watch our first analysis, as we'll be referring back to it quite a bit. You can find a link to it in the description below. So one aspect that seemed to get everyone thinking was the interface. While we were able to explain most of it, there were two things that we couldn't quite figure out. The Mario icon in the bottom left, and the mysterious ninja star. But you guys had a few ideas as to what they could do. Dog Yamato thinks that the Mario icon could be a toggle to choose between all of the different game's physics. This would explain how Mario was able to steal Lakitu's cloud in Mario 1, as that wasn't something he could do in the original game. But we don't think that's what the button is for, since we noticed it also appeared during the playable E3 demo before we knew there would be different game themes. Instead, Young the Fish has another suggestion. He believes that the icon is simply a way to quickly locate Mario while editing. Say you're working on a later part of your level and want to test it out immediately. Rather than having to scroll around looking for him, you would push the button to go right to him. And this idea would make a lot of sense, although it's also possible it's simply a toggle for the trails Mario would leave behind in the E3 demo, but are nowhere in sight in the latest trailer. Although SG9000 thinks the icon could be as simple as a save feature, since nothing else seems to fill that role in the interface. Now Young the Fish has an idea about the ninja star icon as well. He thinks that it could work in conjunction with the down arrow on the right side. Pushing the arrow would cycle through to the next 12 elements. So it could be that the ninja star is supposed to be an up arrow, and it's just blanked out because it can't be scrolled up any further. Or maybe it serves as a way to quickly return back to the main menu no matter where you are. Or perhaps, if that main menu is in fact a favorites menu as we suggested before, maybe you'll be able to drag icons onto it to return to the main menu, where you could then slot them into the desired spot. As with the interface, many people have questions on how the process of designing levels will work, especially when you take into account the ability to switch from one game to the next on the fly. Now we pointed out that it looked like new assets had to be specifically created to accommodate for this ability, but you guys saw even more examples than the few that we pointed out. First up is Gummy Boy 544, who noticed that the cannons during the Mario World sequence aren't actually from Mario World. Instead, they're from Mario Bros. 3, showing that you'll be able to mix and match at least some objects between themes, even if they didn't appear in that game originally. Likewise, Cyberwolf JV noted that bloopers never appeared in Mario World either, and he goes on to say that the sprite here is actually pulled from the All-Star version of Super Mario Bros. 3. So is it possible that Mario All-Stars could be a theme or themes? After all, going by the drop-down game selector in the trailer, there does appear to be space for 3 more, so perhaps both Mario 1 and Mario 3 have All-Star versions. Of course, there are still other Mario games that could appear too, such as Super Mario Bros. 2 or Super Mario Land 2. Along these same lines, Daniel Fontenot pointed out that the cloud that Lakitu is riding on in the Super Mario World theme isn't actually from Mario World, as it's considerably smaller and less fluffy. Maybe this was done to allow the Lakitu to fit neatly into the grid that the interface creates. And for all this talk of themes, Nombre Generico 89TF2 spotted the fact that some elements are not dictated by the theme. While we pointed out before that the mushroom platforms appear underwater, we failed to note the one that appears in the castle level. It's just there in the middle of the lava, which is something that's never happened before in any Mario game, so it's possible that some elements could be universal. There are even more level pieces that show up in the levels. Game Boy 1001 noticed the bridge to the right of the Grand Goombas looked very similar to the ones that appear in Super Mario Bros. And World 8 of Mario 3. And Squeaks98 Inc. saw the yellow blocks from Mario World do indeed make an appearance, which strongly hints that Mario will have a spin jump ability from that game, as that was the only way to break them. Now in our previous analysis, we threw out the possibility of being able to link together multiple custom levels in order to create entire worlds, and Cheesy Coke thinks he found some more evidence. He points out that since Mario is able to get extra lives, this strongly supports the world concept, as what would the point of lives be when playing through just a single level? After all, when you run out and get a game over, it wouldn't really change anything since you could just start the level over. But in the context of an entire world, lives make a lot more sense. The only other explanation to this is if you can place checkpoints in a level, but there have been no sign of those yet. Next up, Dat Wolf Gamer and many others noted that the timer actually resets every time you hop in and out of the level editor. In fact, we can see it in the very first scene of the trailer. But there's also something odd about this part. The timer starts at 493 seconds in the trailer, but when the editing interface is brought up and then dismissed, the time then changes to 497 seconds instead of the expected 500. Soon after, when the platform is added, the timer resets one more time, though in this case it's to 500. So why did it start at 497 before? Well, as it turns out, it appears to simply be a result of how the trailer was edited. If you watch the clouds here, you can see the footage fade away as it goes from the editor to in-game. And speaking of the timer, SG9000 also pointed out that all of the themes share the same 8-bit style timer, except for New Super Mario Bros., which has the one from that game. It's just a neat touch that further showcases the generational gap. NTC Pedro Peter News spotted something else about editing though. Mario is flashing as soon as the editing is finished, indicating he's invincible for a short time when testing the level to ensure he's not immediately killed. That'll probably come in handy. RoboChiz had another idea about Mario from the trailer. Since there's no P-meter visible on screen during the Raccoon suit section, is it possible it works differently this time? After all, Mario does seem to fly a little more erratically than in Mario 3. Although, despite the lack of a P-meter, we can still hear the ringing sound effect from when it's full, indicating it is in fact back. So maybe it's just invisible this time or not fully implemented yet. Okay, we're almost done here, but there are a few more ideas that we had about the trailer. For one, based on the size of the level select icon and the amount of space shown on the left side of the interface, there appears to be room for 6 or maybe 7 different level themes, depending on how tightly they pack them in. Now so far we have 4 themes accounted for: the plains, underwater, underground, and castles. And the common element they all share is that they all appeared in all 4 Mario games, represented here in some form. But since it seems Mario Maker is using the original Super Mario Bros. As its baseline for many elements, we think it could offer a hint as to the remaining stage themes, since there are 2 themes in Mario 1 that aren't yet accounted for: the bonus sky levels, as well as the night version of the plains. Could these be some of the final themes? Likewise, they could take some inspiration from the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 and feature snow or windy hills. Of course, it's also possible they could lift a theme from the later games like ghost houses and retrofit them for Mario 1. Now something else we were curious about is how big these levels can get exactly. So based on both times we see edit mode in the first level shown off, we were able to measure the rough length of the level using the slider bar at the bottom of the interface for reference. So since the slider bar represents one screen, then this level in particular is roughly 6.5 screens in length. But since the meter actually continues well past the goal, the maximum level length is actually 12 screens in total. And since we know each screen's grid is 24 blocks wide, that gives you a total width of 288 blocks to play with. We also think we know exactly how tall each level can be, because there are 2 clips that appear to show the entire height of the level based on the fact that the camera stops moving vertically at both the top and bottom. So we actually pieced them together, and sure enough, both are the exact same height, suggesting this is the maximum limit. And as you can probably see, that limit comes out to exactly 2 screens vertically, or 27 blocks tall. And speaking of the length of each level, as we pointed out before, we know that the end of each level changes depending on the selected game theme. But will it also change based on the level theme? After all, flagpoles ended almost every level in Mario 1, but never actually appeared inside the castle levels. And the same applies for the other Mario games as well. So could this be another hint at the ability to add boss fights like the Bowsers that appeared at the end of the castles in Mario 1? And would they only appear in the castle stages, or could you add them anywhere? Although there is another possibility, because we also see a pair of underwater levels in the trailer, but Mario levels never actually end underwater, with one key exception. So in the original Super Mario Bros., for instance, you would always find a staircase at the end of the underwater section that would lead up to a warp pipe, which would then pop you out back above ground, just before the flagpole. So could the same thing happen here? Well, if we freeze the first underwater clip at the very end, we can actually see a staircase there too. Could this be leading up to the pipe? In which case, that would seem to confirm that warp pipes will appear in the game, but will you be able to set them yourself, or are they set to appear automatically at the end of the water levels? Or, and this is kind of a crazy idea, what if you can link multiple levels together via warp pipes, which would mean this underwater section is just one small part of a larger level? Although there is one odd little thing. In Super Mario Bros., the staircases were made of the green blocks also visible here, instead of the more brick-like ones here, which actually resembles the ones used just before the flagpole as in normal stages. So could it actually be leading to an underwater flagpole? We kind of doubt it, but hey, it's possible. And the possibilities in Mario Maker feel truly endless right now, but we won't know the true limits until Nintendo releases more information. And we'll be there to cover each new aspect revealed from Mario Maker. As always, if we still miss something, please let us know in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at GameXplain. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Mario Maker and other things gaming.